Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
And it's in the books, ladies and gentlemen. The 2017 NFL Draft in Philadelphia, which was an absolute sellout crowd, if that makes any sense. 250,000 people gathered in the streets of Philadelphia for what was a very memorable 2017 NFL Draft. And without question, it seems like Philadelphia is going to be exercising that option to have the draft there next year. And with the rave reviews it got, all those people, all that beer, no arrests, why not have it back in Philadelphia again next year? And furthermore, the Eagles made some interesting picks, I guess you could say, and we will talk about them here on the Tyler Werner Show and how it may improve or maybe not improve the Philadelphia Eagles going forward.
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, man.
welcome to the Tyler Werner Show.
Gosh, it went great.
The 2017 NFL Draft is in the books right here from Philadelphia. What a spectacle it was. And a spectacle that can certainly, and is now, very likely to be favored to be brought back here next year, as there is that 2-year option to have the draft return once again to Philadelphia next year. And I say, well, what the hell, why not?
I agree.
Hats off to all those who, especially the Philadelphia fans who represented here and who participated, who exercised their boos on Roger Goodell and, Cowboys alumni who are going to go up onto the stage and troll Philadelphia fans, for participating, but not causing any trouble. Philadelphia is known for this, having these super rowdy fan bases and yada yada. But really, 250,000 people at the NFL Draft in attendance. It was packed. I wasn't there myself, but just the shots, the spectacle of this event on camera, it was visually beautiful at times. The setup, the Eagles' green fountain, and just all this and that. All those people, all that beer, and not one arrest at the draft. Well, very well done. Very well done. The NFL, the fans there in attendance, Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia. Round of applause. Without question. And now, the real question, however, do you give Joe Douglas and Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office a round of applause for their performance? Mainly Joe Douglas. As basically, it's kind of been identified as mainly being a Joe Douglas operation. And I gotta say, I'm generally pleased with the pick of Derek Barnett, defensive end. Generally pleased with that. And overall, I'm not, I'm not doing cartwheels though. Like I said, whoever they would take in the first round at pick number 14, is kind of a boo-proof selection. Between, maybe drafting a running back there, or a wide receiver, a la Mike Williams if he was available, who was not, or a cornerback who wasn't in the middle of rape accusations or anything like that. Whoever they would take there would be a good selection that would help fill a position of need. And defensive end, it's not as much of a need as some of these other positions. Vinny Curry, he's a guy who's getting paid a lot of money. And so therefore, Derek Barnett, they're not going to start rookie Derek Barnett in place of him. They may mix him in the rotation. But when you're paying Vinny Curry hefty money to play that position right now, Derek Barnett's not going to be the starter. So you go to the second round and who they pick. And we'll get some other takes on this. But Sidney Jones, cornerback out of Washington, initially is a round one talent. And some are maybe calling him the steal of the draft. But that's if he can come back from this Achilles injury at the same level. And that's tough. That's tough to say whether he will or not. Apparently the Eagles, to draft him in the second round, are confident that he's going to come back at the same level. We'll see. Some players have come back from Achilles injuries and played at a good, D'Amico Ryans we had a few years ago who came back from an Achilles injury, who you would have thought at that point, I think he was entering his early 30s. He came back and he was, he was still pretty good. To his credit. Terrell Suggs, I believe, has come back pretty solid from an Achilles, but it's not all the time. Heck, even Kobe Bryant, in the final years of his career, came back from an Achilles injury. And in one of his final games, I believe it was, if not maybe it was his final game when he put up 60 points still. Leading some to say, oh, hey, this guy's still got it. Why doesn't he play more? Play longer. Well, he wanted to retire, and that's all fine and dandy. But that's a gamble pick, and we're going to have to wait and see. And again, if he can't come back and play at that same level, then it's like, and he's just another average Joe at cornerback, then we have a beef here with Joe Douglas, with the front office for making that selection. Because the idea is, and this is what I was hoping, that you were going to get a guy in the first round that was going to be able to come in and start for you this year. And again, with Vinny Curry being paid that money, Derek Barnett's not really going to come in and start right away. That doesn't mean he's not going to become a good player. It's a decent selection at pick number 14 there. Decent selection. But again, with the circumstances, they got depth there now, but Vinny Curry getting paid that money, Derek Barnett's not going to start right away. He might be mixed in the rotation, but for now, this season, that's kind of about it. Maybe later down the road in the season, he starts getting more playing time. Sidney Jones, again, coming off the Achilles injury, he's got he's got, he's got some recovering to do. I mean, this is something that takes close to a year. I mean, to be on the safe side, to recover from, until a guy can actually play again. So, not going to be starting right away. These two guys, these first couple of rounds, you usually want to have someone, or at least that's the idea, that can come in and start for you right away. And I mean, again, I can understand the pick at 14 that they made. It's just a little underwhelming. And we'll get to the other picks as well. We'll get to Sports Illustrated draft grades that they had for the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people, I mean, I don't know. A lot of quote-unquote experts gave the Eagles good reviews for this draft. And I'm not sure exactly I would give it as positive review as some of these experts gave them. But I don't know. We'll look into it. We'll hear from Derek Barnett as well. In his first press conference, shortly after being drafted by the Philadelphia, the next day, on Friday, addressing the press. And he sounds like a great team player. He's going to be a great guy to coach, and just all around a great teammate. A guy that we want here in Philadelphia. So, we were thinking at pick number 14, and I don't mean to take anything away from Derek Barnett being the guy who was available, but John Ross, for instance, which I believe Tim McManus had in his mock draft, being selected by the Philadelphia Eagles at 14. John Ross gets picked up at pick number 9 by the Cincinnati Bengals, the speedy wide receiver who ran the 4.22 40. And I mean, again, sometimes it's just unpredictable. Some people didn't have him being selected until the later first round, maybe even the second round. But boy, does his stock go up. Christian McCaffrey went to the Panthers like many speculated. So he didn't, again, that's 6 picks here ahead of the Eagles. Marshawn Lattimore picked up by the Saints at 11. A couple more picks away from the Eagles. Hassan Reddick, linebacker, Temple. Let's see. Corey Davis picked up by the Titans at number 5. And Mike Williams by the Chargers. He didn't even make it past pick number 7. There was speculation that maybe he would be available for the Philadelphia Eagles to take. And I was saying if he is, I mean, I'd just take him at that point. Best player available on the board. Take him. But he, again, picked up by the Chargers, pick number 7. You had a lot of guys here that, it's like any one of them could have been available for the Philadelphia Eagles at 14. None of them were. So Adoree Jackson, I guess, was available. They could, if they wanted a cornerback. I mean, at that point, he was the 3rd cornerback taken. Marlon Humphrey was also available, 16 for the Ravens. Ravens took him. So the Eagles could have taken him as well, maybe to immediately improve the cornerback position. But Derek Barnett, and this was according to the the Eagles brass themselves. He was the best guy available on their board. And so they went and took Derek Barnett. And they said that he was a guy that they were targeting. So, again, they made the selection that they felt was best. And certainly he can help this defensive line. And you know what? That's maybe a good thing because, between Vinny Curry and they're getting paid as well, I mean, this kind of helps Fletcher Cox. Not everything have to be put on him, I guess, for the defensive line. This is kind of like the focal point, the strength of the defense. Of Jim's defense here for Philadelphia. Again, they can get pressure to the quarterback. It puts less pressure on the cornerbacks. So that's, that helps for the meantime. Because again, it's been that cornerback position for the Philadelphia Eagles has been an Achilles heel for quite some time here in Philadelphia. So they can use some help. And certainly that defensive line with this rotation and Fletcher Cox can certainly be benefited with the selection of Derek Barnett. So again, we'll go through it. There's some draft grades given by Sports Illustrated. And then, of course, the NFL experts, in quotations, they have their draft grades for all the teams, and for our sake, the Philadelphia Eagles, and look at what they say about that. And of course, we can look more into this whole Achilles injury and the recovery for cornerback Sidney Jones out of Washington, picked up by the Philadelphia Eagles at number 43. We'll look into it on the Tyler Werner Show today. And also, for what it's worth, we do need to mention that the Philadelphia Flyers, speaking of drafts, will now have the second pick in this year's NHL draft. Maybe, just maybe,
Oh my God!
this Flyers team can finally add a difference maker for a change at that number 2 pick. I mean, it's not like they were the second worst team in the NHL, but still, they were lucky, and they're going to have the second pick in the NHL draft. Maybe it's time they add somebody. Maybe it's time they, start building a new core that'll get the job done here. And maybe, just maybe, bring another Stanley Cup to the Philadelphia Flyers organization.
I agree.
We'll see. All right, so coming back on the other side, we will look more into this. Actually, we'll hear from Derek Barnett in his first press conference. And Carson Wentz happened to be down at the draft, and in the midst of the fun, and had a little fun, in a sense, if that sounds right at all, with a Cowboys fan. We'll get into it in case you haven't heard of it on the other side, right here on the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned for more right here.
Okay, Rocco, pretend I'm the girl that you want to ask out on a date.
How about maybe you and I, maybe we go out together, get something to eat, I don't know, maybe laugh a little bit, who knows, you know? I don't know, would you like to maybe, you want me to go out together? What do you think? Would you like to?
You need to make more eye contact, and you sound way too nervous.
You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? All right, I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
Having a tough time asking out ladies? You need to see Clubber Lang for a lesson.
Hey, woman. Hey, woman. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man.
Build confidence with the ladies like never before with Clubber Lang's dating services. The most highly recommended in all of the Delaware Valley.
I am ranked number one. One! That means I'm the best.
What defines the perfect ball? It's not just about size when it comes to Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs.
I've handled dozens of balls over the past week. We prepare our balls over time. The texture of the balls is very easy to identify.
And that slow-cooked texture is one of the qualities that make Brady and Belichick's meatballs stand above the rest. But it's also Brady's unique rubbing process that only he has the authority to perform.
When I pick those balls out, to me they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them. To me, those balls are perfect.
Once the balls reached an equilibrium, we're down to the rubbing process.
Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs. When you're looking to make it a pasta night or doing a little catering, like Brady would say, to me, those balls are perfect.
What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? Guess it's all that pumping. Pump and dump.
Pump and dump. Never stop the pumping. Always keep her satisfied. Pump and dump.
You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
Then we're back on the Tyler Werner Show following the 2017 NFL Draft. What a week it was. The Eagles making some interesting selections. We're talking about them here on the Tyler Werner Show. We're also talking about the spectacle that was the draft here in Philadelphia, which is very, again, in high favor to make a return here next year on the 2-year option. And I say why not. Many others say why, including Jerry Jones. Also had some praise for the draft here in Philadelphia. Yeah, again, what a spectacle it was. Carson Wentz was down there, of course, at a fan event on Thursday. And for those who haven't heard of it, this is roaring round of applause worthy. He ripped the hat off of a Cowboys fan at this event. I don't know if I'd say he totally ripped, but he kind of just took it off and just said, "Dude, you can't be wearing it." Unfortunately, yeah, there were some Cowboy fans there. And, yeah, I don't know if it was on Twitter. Somebody posted on Twitter. But this Cowboys fan is, kind of walking up the steps here at this stage. And Carson Wentz is there. And, yeah, I'm kind of, watching this here in the background. On the Twitter posting of this video. And I like it. Yeah, it kind of gets to the kind of just puts it down on the stage, probably telling dude, you can't, come on, you can't. This is Philadelphia here. This is a Philadelphia draft event, but it is what it is. Yeah, and that was also not to let us not forget. I guess the supposed Eagles fan who there was the Cowboys jersey dummy or whatever you want to call it, mannequin without a head, to which some Philadelphia fan present at the draft was held up, and both bare butt cheeks spreaded in place of a head, I guess. And yeah, I'm sure if you haven't seen it already, I mean, I'm sure you've heard about it. So certainly this Eagles fan base, as well as Eagles players and alumni, had fun, had a blast. It was quite a spectacle, one for the ages. Rave reviews. Again, nobody got in trouble with the law. A lot of beer was indulged in, apparently, and yeah, I got to think about trying to get down there, trying to make the maybe next year if it is here, trying to make the the big horse and buggy ride from Lancaster County down there. But no, actually this weekend I'm actually going there for a couple concerts actually. So what do you know? The week after the NFL draft, I'll be going to Philadelphia. But I guess everything will hopefully be cleaned up by the weekend. Cleaning up continues to go. I mean, they had this thing set up for like a week in advance. They were working on it for a while, and boy, was it great. All right. So I mentioned previously, earlier on in the Tyler Werner Show, we would listen in to Derek Barnett, his first press conference here the day after being selected as the number 14 pick in the NFL draft, first round selection for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I mean, for those who haven't heard it, you'll hear it now. Guy sounds like a great, classy guy. Not egotistical. Sounds like a team player. A guy that, Doug Peterson. Just a guy that sounds very coachable. A guy that coaches love to coach. Can't even talk right. Cooperative team player. Let's hear from him on Friday. Derek Barnett, defensive end, right here on the Tyler Werner Show.
When we talked to you last night, you had a pretty humble attitude about coming in here and working and proving yourself first. Where did you learn that? Was that instilled in you at a young age?
Yes, sir. I think it was. My mom, she raised me, so she taught me. And she always told me to stay humble and put your head down and just work. And she's worked a lot. I've seen her work up to 3 jobs when I was younger. So I think I get that attitude from her.
Derek, did you meet Jim Schwartz prior to the draft? Did he work you out? What kind of communication did you have with him?
Yeah, I came in for a 30 visit, and I had a great meeting with him. And actually, the Eagles was my last visit, so I wasn't here not too long ago, probably like a week and a half. So it's kind of ironic that I ended up in the city.
What was your experience like in meeting Jim? Did he talk anything about how you potentially could be used when he was talking to you?
Yes, sir. The meeting went well. It was more about just him getting a good feel for me and me getting to know him more. And he also thinks I can fit their system very well. He should become playing that wide 9 and come off the edge. Thinks I have a good get off. So he thinks I fit the system well, and I think I fit as well too.
Derek, you played against some pretty good offensive tackles in the SEC, and most of your sacks came against SEC teams. How good of a training ground was that conference for you as a pass rusher?
I think it was very good. I played against a lot of great tackles. Laramie Tunsil, Brandon Sheriff, Cam Robinson from Alabama. So I played against a lot of great tackles week in and week out. And you win on Saturdays, and then Sunday you celebrate. But Monday you got to get back to work. And I feel like it's going to be the same way in the NFL.
Hey, A lot of rookies play right from opening day. Some don't play maybe till their second year. Are you somebody who's going to be really impatient to get on the field and contribute, or kind of sit back and wait your turn and learn the game? What's your mindset as far as playing right away?
I'm not gonna sit back and wait my turn, but I'm gonna come in and learn my role first, and get around these vets and learn what I have to do first to get on the field. But me being a first-round pick, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't guarantee me a spot. I still have to come in and work and gain respect first.
Derek, you wrote the letter in the Players Tribune to the GMs. Why did you feel the need to do that, and was that your idea to do that?
It was. I just thought it was just a great way to express my feelings. And my mom, she thought it would be a good idea to get that letter out as well. And I thought it hit the media at the right time.
Your pass rushing, the skills that you've honed, where did you kind of pick those up, or was it a body of work like over the years, or how did you get that? Last night, Joe Douglas was talking about your finish, for example.
Just great coaches, starting in middle school, high school, and Coach Tripp in college. So I've been around some great coaches. I worked with Chuck Smith, and really, I created all my coaches just molded me into the ball player I am today.
Derek, I think you weighed in at 259 at the Combine. Where do you want to be to start your NFL career, and how much of that do you want to get, and how quickly do you want to put on weight?
Yeah, wherever Coach tells me I need to be at, I'll make sure I'm at that weight.
Do you think you'd be as effective putting on some more pounds? Do you think you'd lose any speed or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Derek, when you were saying earlier your mom worked up to 3 jobs at a time and everything, like what kind of jobs were they, and then how did who helped raise you then while she was doing all that, or did you raise yourself? How did that all come about?
My mom, she worked EPS. She works in the factory, so she's on her feet a lot, moving boxes, and also weighing tables. And then she raised me. Even though she worked a lot, she was still always there, and made sure I had everything I needed.
Derek, when people bring up the sack record, Reggie White at Tennessee, Joe compares you to Terrell Suggs, does that bring any added pressure to you?
No, sir. I don't feel no pressure. I take it as a compliment. And Terrell Suggs, he was a great ball player, going to be a Hall of Famer, and Reggie White, probably one of the greatest defensive linemen to play the game. So just for me to be compared to those two is really a blessing.
Hey, as far as your true freshman year, getting 10 sacks, then what made you get on the field so early, and how have you developed since then?
Coming in freshman year, I was just playing. I really just came in. I told myself I'm going to play hard every down, and then for my freshman and junior year, the game slowed down to me, and I just got better as a ball player mentally.
Derek, you're the first Eagle draftee I can remember who was drafted in the city and woke up this morning, here. What has this day been like for you? What have you done, and what impressions have you gained?
Today I woke up, came over to the stadium, toured the stadium, then came to the facility, met the coaches, and this day's been fun for me. Like I've enjoyed myself, and I can't wait until we start rookie camp and get around ball some more.
Derek, we heard so much about what Joe and how he said about you. They really praised you last night, but you say you have a lot to learn. What's one area of your game that you really want to improve on the most?
My eye discipline. Sometimes I like to put my eyes in the backfield too fast before defeating my block, so I think I need to continue working on my eye discipline.
How do you do that?
Focusing on my work, making sure I'm beating my block. So if I'm going against the tight end, making sure I'm beating him first before I put my eyes in the backfield.
Derek, did any Eagles reach out to you, especially along the defensive line, like a Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox or anybody like that?
Yes, sir. Fletcher Cox reached out to me. He told me how he likes his steaks cooked. So that was a warm welcome to the team.
Wait, was that right after? Was that last night after you got drafted, or was
yes,
that?
Sir, it was on Twitter. But there was a few other guys who reached out to me. Carson Wentz did, and everybody's been showing me love, and I really appreciate it.
Derek, I was curious, since you broke his record, have you had the opportunity to meet Sarah White or any of her children? And what is Reggie's legacy like on campus? Are there a lot of memories of him are still around?
I've not met Sarah White, but I've talked to her on the phone a few times. And she lives in Nashville, so when I get the chance, I will go over there and meet with them. But Reggie White in Knoxville, he's a legend. He's all over the place in the state of Tennessee.
Joe used the term, the phrase, tough as nails. We've heard other coaches talk about you in terms of a switch going off when you get on the field, in terms of that toughness. What is it? What motivates you to play that type of way with an edge?
I just love football. I love everything that what the game brings. I love the contact. I love playing with 10 other guys on defense. I just love everything about it.
Obviously, Reggie White was somebody that you watched, but just growing up through the years, were there any particular defensive ends that you watched as you've come along your path?
Yeah, recently I like watching Michael Bennett play. I like his demeanor. He uses his hands very, very well. When I was younger, Michael Strahan, one of the best to do it. So I look up to a lot of those guys.
Just following up on Damo's question, how did you come about to talk to Sarah White on the phone, and what were those conversations like?
She gave me a phone call after about a week after the bowl game, after I broke the record, and she was just congratulating me on everything I've accomplished. And even though I broke the record, I told her Reggie's still Reggie. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I'm better than Reggie. So I told her thank you a lot, and I really appreciate it.
All right, so there was Derek Barnett in his first press conference here since being drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, sounds like a very likable, team-oriented guy. Especially, what stands out to me in that is like the part where the question where he's asked about like his weight and like whether it puts weight on or whatever, and it kind of just answers like basically whatever weight the coaches want me to be at is where I got to be at. That whole kind of thing. And I like the vibe. Fletcher Cox reaching out to him and telling Barnett how he likes his steaks done, and I thought that was cool.
Put some macaroni and cheese on there too.
So seems like a great team-oriented guy, and was quick to kind of, when asked about where he can improve on his game, is quick to kind of discuss that. Quick to throw something out about what he wants to improve about his game. I think that's great, and he's looking forward to getting to work here, to mini camps, and that's all well and good. Sounds good. Again, kind of looking forward a little bit more in the draft. Where do things stand with the Eagles' second-round draft pick in Sidney Jones? There's actually an anonymous Scouts article here from SB Nation about what they had to say about the Eagles' picks. And here's, again, the whole thing, you take the name out here and you make anonymous, scouting judgments. I guess that kind of changes things a little bit. But one anonymous scout on Sidney Jones. It all changed for Jones when he blew out his Achilles running through drills at Pro Day in mid-March. That's a shame. My guess now is third round, which the Eagles took him in the second round. I think if teams have extra picks, they might look at him earlier. If he has a negative, it's probably strength. For a lean guy, he tackles well. Really a good cover guy. Two teams said they had Jones slotted second behind Lattimore before injury. Good worker, willing to do extra, a second scout said. Really smart. doesn't get rattled. I question his long speed. Third-year junior with 39 starts, finished with 145 tackles, 9 picks, and 30 PBUs. Pass breakups, for those who, usually it's not abbreviated like that, at least from my reading. More of a finesser, said a third scout. He can run and mirror anything. He wasn't real physical with the jam, not very big. Added a fourth scout. He's 186 pounds, a 4.51 40. There's not a lot of special traits. From Diamond Bar, California. Now, if he doesn't return with that same speed, I mean, again, we could be looking at just another average Joe at cornerback here for the Philadelphia Eagles, which the Eagles have been riddled with for the past decade now, it seems. Or just cornerbacks that were signed here, a la Nnamdi Asomugha, Byron Maxwell, that came from maybe a better defensive scheme, came here and did not carry that same success at all. Nnamdi Asomugha came, it's like he didn't even want to play anymore. And Byron Maxwell just kind of looked lost in the woods out of that Seattle Seahawks system. So, as far as that goes with the Eagles, I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't know how well it sits. Some scouts had him second, the runner-up to Lattimore in this draft. But, again, is he going to be able to come back without losing a step? Remains to be seen. We'll get back to more on this on the other side of the Tyler Werner Show to wrap things up in the last segment. Maybe look into more of this Achilles injury and how, the chances of him coming back and recovering well. And maybe being able to have that full step still. We'll see. It is the Tyler Werner Show. We'll be right back after this.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
Attention parents. Is your under 18-year-old daughter being cyberstalked by a man who identifies themselves as a grown adult male?
I want to meet you and fool around. Are you up to meeting tonight, hon? I think I would like to shower with you. We can do it in the shower, too.
If so, you need to contact Chris Hansen Company to bust these online cyberstalkers.
How are you tonight? Why don't you have a seat there and get comfortable for that? I guess you're going to tell me next that this is the very first time you've done something like this.
Chris Hansen and the Dateline crew will take care of it. Contact us, and we will put an end to the cyber stalking that your daughter is experiencing.
Well, there's something you got to know. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Busted! Number 1 box office attraction, number 1 WWE superstar, multi-time WWE champion, Brock Lesnar.
Time to revamp your office space, eh? Looking for an interior decorator? Look no further than Brock Lesnar.
Now that's the way a real man uses a sledgehammer.
At Out with the old, in with the new. Give Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman a call.
Mr. Lesnar, you are the future of interior decorator. Hollywood done.
The Tyler Werner Show. On this post-draft week here, the Eagles have made their selections. It just occurred to me, I was thinking of, how this draft for the Eagles might... I was thinking before, depending what they do, could it affect my preliminary 9-7 prediction that many people seem to have, a 9-7 prediction for this Eagles team, at least, 4 months ahead of the regular season. It was weird. I actually even had I just recalled right now during the break having a dream last night that the Eagles went ahead and finished 9-7. It's one of those weird dreams where it's like, where did the season go? And yada yada. But so I don't know. A weird dream I had. With the way this draft, the Eagles, they didn't really get any guys that are gonna. This happens a lot. A lot of the draft, a lot of these players that the Eagles took, it's a crapshoot. That's really what it is. Especially for the later round selections. Who knows how any of those guys are going to pan out. Just taking a little detour here quick. Don't want to ignore the playoffs that we have going on with the Golden State Warriors in the NBA beating the Jazz 106-94, taking the 1-0 lead into that series last night. Of course, Boston Celtics leading the Wizards with the 2-0 series. Went to overtime last night. Celtics getting the win there. The Rockets are up 1-0 after killing the Spurs 126-99. Bit of a shocking start there to the series. Kind of one-sided ball game there. Cleveland Cavaliers up 1-0 on the Raptors, of course. And game 2 for that series is tonight, 7 p.m. Wednesday, as of this podcast on this Wednesday afternoon. Game 2 for the Houston Rockets taking on the Spurs is also tonight at 9:30, and then tomorrow, game 3 for the Celtics and Wizards, and game 2 tomorrow for the Jazz and the Warriors. So we'll look forward to those games. And, of course, over in the NHL playoffs, of course, the Pittsburgh Penguins, they got off to a rousing start in that series with a 2-0 lead. However, the Capitals getting the win with Sidney Crosby, of course, getting a concussion and having to sit out that game.
Oh, man.
But, a lot of Philadelphia fans, I'm sure, are actually applauding that. But in all seriousness, the Penguins lead the Capitals right now 2-1. Game 4 tonight at 7:30. Wondering if Crosby might be sitting that game out too. I don't know. Nashville Predators, ladies and gentlemen, leading the Blues 3-1 after a 2-1 win yesterday. They were, they were heading this playoff as a wild card team, and they're looking, pretty strong here. Like they could make a run at the Stanley. They swept the conference leading Chicago Blackhawks, and they're looking strong here. Former Flyers head coach Peter Laviolette coaching that team up. Meanwhile, the Flyers sitting out, not even close to making the playoffs this year. The Ottawa Senators are leading the Rangers 2-1 Although the Rangers last night did get a 4-1 victory, convincing. So Rangers still alive in that series. Chance to make it 2-2 tomorrow night, Thursday night. And the Edmonton Oilers lead the Ducks 2-1 in that series. However, the Ducks, avoid falling down 3-0 by beating the Oilers on Sunday 6-3. That was the last time those two teams even played. But they play tonight at 10 o'clock, as do the Penguins and the Capitals. So those are the games we have going on in the world of hockey right now. Hockey and NBA action in full swing here with the playoffs. Definitely an interesting, change up from the NFL draft and what's going on there. And can't even talk. MLB baseball action for the Phillies. Yeah, stuttering like Mr. Doug Peterson himself there. Speaking of the Phillies, some interesting back-to-back blowout games, sort of, with the Cubs beating the Phillies 8-3 yesterday, but Monday, Phillies 10-2 on the Cubs, the defending World Series champions. Those two teams, once again, they face off tonight, 8:05 p.m. And also Thursday at an interesting 2:20 p.m. time in the fourth and final game of the series. And the Phillies, they struggled against the Dodgers before that in the last week, over the past weekend, getting swept by the Dodgers. So, not a whole lot going on there, I guess, in the world of the Phillies baseball for now. At least nothing, no playoff run or anything looking to come out of Citizens Bank Park. So before we close down the Tyler Werner Show, I just want to mention again, the Sports Illustrated draft grades for the Philadelphia Eagles, which they only really grade the first 3 rounds that the Eagles drafted. I mean, again, it's like after the first round or two, third round, things kind of just die off, and then it's just like at that point, 4th round and later, it's take whoever and hope they pan out. It's hard to gauge how any of those players are going to turn out. There are some organizations that they draft guys in later rounds, and whether it's their doing or just unbeknownst to everybody else during the drafting process, these players, they pan out very well and become staples of franchises in the NFL. I'd like to see the Eagles be able to do that, but since they haven't really been an organization in recent memory that has been able to accomplish that. So again, in the later rounds, they drafted round 4. They had 2 round 4 selections. Mac Hollins, wide receiver out of UNC. Selection number 132 overall from the Vikings. Donnell Pumphrey, running back out of San Diego State. And then in round 5, they had 2 more picks. They get another wide receiver, Shelton Gibson, wide receiver out of West Virginia. And number 184 overall, a compensatory pick from the Dolphins, safety Nate Jerry out of Nebraska. And round 6, their final pick of the draft, Elijah Qualls, defensive tackle out of Washington. Now, how these guys pan out, again, it's hard to really grade them, hard to really slap any grades on them. But Sports Illustrated gave the following grades and explanations to the first 3 picks for the Philadelphia Eagles in this draft. Derek Barnett, they gave a B, which, yeah, I think we can all agree that's about where we give him, that kind of grade. They say this is a good pick. It's a relatively safe pick. It does not address the Eagles' biggest need, which is at cornerback, and it also ignores a couple players who slipped down the board. The real positive is in pairing Barnett's skill off the edge with Jim Schwartz's scheme. Barrett can line up wide and worry about little else beyond penetrating into the backfield, which is exactly the type of role that should play to his strengths as a pass rusher. Brandon Graham, Chris Long, and Barnett make for a talented defensive end trio from which Jim Schwartz should be able to find a lot of sacks. But again, I mean, they're also paying Vinny Curry a whole lot, and in that position, so rotational player for the meantime. Round 2, pick 11, number 43 overall, of course, Sidney Jones, cornerback. They gave this an A, which, again, if he comes back from his Achilles injury 100%, which, hopefully they can do that. The doctors can get Sidney Jones back at that same level. Sidney Jones' Achilles injury would have made him a significant gamble in the first round. In round 2, though, he's a value. Remember, he was thought of as a potential top 10 pick before that setback at his pro day. He's a tall, physical cornerback who can lock down the outside. When he gets healthy again, the Eagles could have a star. Well, they could have him as a star. But again, he's got to return at the same level. Whether he does or not, remains to be seen. The Eagles also went cornerback in round 3 with Rasul Douglas, cornerback out of West Virginia. Sports Illustrated gave this pick an A-. Definitely do not mind the Eagles doubling down on cornerback Friday night. It was a trouble spot on their depth chart, and Sidney Jones likely won't be available until at least October. Douglas doesn't have a ton of speed, but he has size, length, and a knack for getting in front of receivers. Okay. This is a 3rd round pick, and I don't know if he's going to be able to start right away either. And again, this might be a kind of a contingency plan if Sidney Jones doesn't come back at that top 10 projected overall selection level that he was projected at. Now, a ruptured Achilles is one of the more difficult injuries to come back from, as I've mentioned before. And the recovery timetable is often long. There's a good, even though he intends on playing in 2017, there's a good chance we won't see him on the field this upcoming season. Durability concerns are one thing, given his 6'1", 186-pound frame. With Jones' gambling play style, there are pros and cons. Gamblers who make plays, like Peters, for example, are praised for those plays. But there's always a flip side. Look at Peters, who had 8 receptions and 2 defensive touchdowns in his rookie season in Kansas City. But he was also beaten for 939 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns in the same season. Now, if Jones can recover from the injury, he could become one of the league's best at his position. That's a full... So, yeah, it's a gamble. And basically what we're counting on is that Joe Douglas... We're counting on the confidence that Joe Douglas has in the medical staff to repair that Achilles injury, that tendon, so that he doesn't lose a step. Which remains to be seen. It's, again, it's one of these things where in the second round, typically, you hope that, we were hoping that they could, if they weren't going to get a cornerback in the first round like they didn't select, we were hoping in the second round then they would get one that could start for them. And yeah, maybe he can't start this year because he's going to be recovering from this Achilles tendon injury, and you want to have him back at a full recovery. But hopefully he can then be a bona fide starter the following year, like you would hope he would be, with that potential talent. And if he doesn't come back with it, it's a disappointing pick. And it's kind of a blown second-round pick. If he does, then that's great. The Eagles may have a staple at cornerback, but I'm not sure. I got to wait and see. And unfortunately, in the Philadelphia sports scene, we seem to have to do a lot of waiting and seeing here. And that's just kind of why I'm not overjoyed with how this draft went. I don't know, some experts, they gave the Eagles a B+, an A-. I don't know. I'd probably give it more of a B- or a C+, or maybe just a flat 80, if that sounds good. Yeah, they got a defensive end who can be mixed in the rotation. Good class guy, good classy guy for the Philadelphia Eagles. They got a cornerback who can maybe be a great cornerback, but we got to wait and see with this Achilles injury whether he can come back, and that's a ways away. Probably not October. And then they got another cornerback in the third round, we got to say, and then the rest is just, again, like a crapshoot. But at least it was positions of need. Like if one of their receivers that they got, one of their, running backs, happens to pan out, one of those later round draft picks, and be a steal, then great. We'll just have to wait and see. That's how a lot of this is. But for the meat of this draft, if I can use that term, in the early picks, yeah, okay. Decent, I guess, with the Derek Barnett selection. Not going to be starting right away, but will be in the rotation. All right. Kind of a wait and see mode for me. So that's pretty much that on this edition of the Tyler Werner Show, the post-draft edition. Again, what a spectacle it was. And I've confidence that we will be seeing the NFL draft once again in Philadelphia next year, because everyone seems to agree, why not have it once again here in Philadelphia next year?
It sounds great.
It does sound great. We will talk to you next time on the Tyler Werner Show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Everybody have a great week. And stay tuned for next edition on the Tyler Werner Show.